Good morning. Today I'm going to make bagels, New York style bagels. I've been promising some of my friends that I'd put this on video, so here we go. I'm going to try. Anytime I'm baking with yeast or making homemade yogurt, which I will also put on video, I always feel in my own mind that there's time constraints associated with that because of the temperatures of the water, temperatures of this, temperatures of that. Don't let this get overdone. Don't let this, blah, blah, blah. So, so I'm going to try to make these bagels in this video, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I did and exactly what I do, and hope that the end product is perfect. I've made this recipe several times. It is absolutely foolproof and fun and easy. These are New York style bagels, believe it or not, so we will be boiling them just like they do in those delicatessens. All right, so let's start with the ingredients and what I've done so far and what I'm going to do. All right, I measured out 1 1/4 cups warm water. It should not go that much over 110 degrees because you'll kill your yeast, okay? 1 1/2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. 2 teaspoons active dry yeast, okay? 1 1/2 cups bread flour. And then a little extra for kneading if you're gonna need it. And 2 1/4 teaspoons of salt. I use sea salt, which is really intense, so I don't use that much. I just use enough salt to satisfy the salt need in the recipe, okay? And there's a couple of other ingredients, but we don't need to talk about that right now. All right, the flour to use is Better for Bread flour. Please make sure that you use only this flour for this recipe, okay? I buy my yeast in a jar that looks like this, and there it comes about half, like 2/3 full, and I just measure it out from here, okay? Granulated sugar, and this is organic sugar, but you don't have to do that. In this bowl, I have, in a small bowl, add 1/2 cup of your warm water. Pour in the sugar and yeast, but do not stir. Let sit for 5 minutes, so that's exactly what I did. And then add them, and then stir the mixture after it has sat, to dissolve the yeast and the sugar. In a large bowl, this is where I have my 3 1/2 cups of flour and my salt, and it just looks like that, okay? You're supposed to, mix in your salt by doing this, okay? And then make a little well in the middle, because that's where you're going to pour your fluid, okay? Your water and yeast mixture. Okay, so now I'm going to just stir that yeast and sugar mixture because it's definitely been sitting for ample time. And I'm just mixing it like they say. And I'm pouring it in. It has definitely cooled off a lot. So, mix in in a large bowl, mix the flour and salt, make a well, we did that, in the middle, and pour the sugar mixture. Pour half of the remaining 3/4 cups of water, so that would be this, into the mix as well. Mix and stir the rest of the water as needed. And you're going to form a dough now with this, so I'm stirring with my hands, clean hands. And I still have a 1/4 cup of warm water on the side right there in case I need it, okay? Which I think that I'm going to, and it's that other 1/4 cup of water that you add as you need it. Don't just pour it in. Just add it as you need it. Okay? And then we're going to knead this dough. Alright, so I need some, definitely need some water right here. So I poured in like 1/8 of that. And it's going to look like it's not mixing in, but it is. And after you do this, you're going to knead this for 10 minutes and the dough just really comes out really beautiful. A beautiful dough. So just clean this off your hands. Get the other hand in there. Get down and dirty with it. Knead it enough to come all together in the bowl that you're using. Also behind me, right there in this pot that you cannot see right now because I'm busy doing this. All right, is the water that we're going to use for the boiling process, okay, when we get there. So I always like to have everything, you know, right there at my fingertips. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and it's not really put together all that great, but so now I'm going to just, on my countertop, I'm just going to spread a layer of flour right here. I'm going to put 10 minutes on the clock. I'm going to put 10 minutes on the clock like you see there because you need 10 minutes worth of kneading, okay? So we're going to start that timer. And we're just going to knead, like really, really knead this dough. Really, really good, okay? And eventually it comes together and you work the dough and it comes together and looks really nice, okay? It's already starting to come together and look really nice. So you just, let me see if I can tip the camera so that you can see this really good. Okay, so there we are. So I'm just going like this, like this, like this, like this. Then you turn it and go the other way, okay? Turn it and go the other way, like that. Working it, working it. Turn it and go the other way. So you're working up like the elasticity in this dough. I think I might need to add a little extra water right here because it is not supposed to be this dry, okay? There we go. Did you see that I just added just the tidgiest tidge of the water, of more water, because it's really supposed to come together as a really, really, really nice dough. And not be sticky to the touch, but not be really dry either. Okay, I have 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go on the kneading thing. So, and it is starting to the finished dough should be firm and stiff, which this will be, but you really have to work it. It's a real process right here, okay? And I seriously don't think that at this point I need to work in more flour. Because if you remember, it was a little dry in the first place. So, and I have 6.5 minutes left on my clock, so I will see you back here after I am done with the kneading process and we go on to the next step. Alright, that's 10 minutes, and this is what my dough looks like. And I already oiled a bowl with Pam cooking spray, and I'm just going to place my dough inside of it, cover it with a clean kitchen towel. It says to use a damp kitchen towel. I've done that, and I've also done it dry, and it really doesn't make a difference. So I do it dry, and it looks just like this. Set it in a warm spot and let it rise for 1 hour, and then we'll finish the rest of the process. Okay, so while that is rising, and by the way, I still have 52 minutes on it. While that's rising, like I told you, I have a pot of water, okay? A pot of water, just like this, probably 2/3 of the way full, okay? And what I do throughout this whole process in order to keep that water hot, almost boiling, is that I have it on the lowest setting flame, because then at the particular step that the recipe calls for, it has to be boiling so that you can put your bagels in and let them boil, okay? And everything that you do in this recipe is timed. The yeast feeds on the sugar for a certain amount of time. You have to knead it for a certain amount of time. You have to raise it for a certain amount of blah, 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 blah. The resting and the boiling and baking. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about this recipe. I've wanted to make bagels for the longest time. I love bagels. My husband and I eat a bagel almost every day. He eats one every day. I eat one almost every day. But, you know, they're expensive, and the bagels that you get in the store are huge, and, oh, you know, the portion is not correct, and, you know, etc., etc. Not that they're bad. I'm just saying, for those of you who enjoy making things by scratch. Anyway, one day, the free newspaper that comes here in Oregon, it used to be every Tuesday, but now it's every Wednesday. So all of a sudden, I got this page, New York style bagels made easy. How about that? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I gotta try this. And really, it is a very easy recipe, and it's very good. And the recipe yields 8 bagels exactly. So it shouldn't make any more, and it shouldn't make any less. And I'll show you how that's done. But at any rate, it really does work. Also, the other ingredients that it calls for is an egg wash, and we'll get to that when the time comes. But the egg wash is to make them shiny and or to stick toppings on them. So I just purchased myself a little thing of poppy seeds, which is fabulous, and sesame seeds, which is also fabulous. And I also tried making salt bagels, which is really fabulous. The problem with that is that when you store these bagels, for whatever reason, the salt bagel especially, in a large Ziploc bag, which is how I do it, they sweat and the salt becomes moist and makes the bagel soggy. So I have since stopped using salt, but salt bagels are good. So if you want to make yourself salt bagels, use them almost immediately, because you're going to run into that problem, okay? But you can put toasted garlic. You could, you know, like for everything bagels, you can do so many things. So whatever the topping is that you like, sunflower seeds, you know, herbs, whatever you like, you can always put on top of these bagels. So, and how I do that is when the time comes that you do that, and it's right before baking, I usually, after boiling, you're supposed to set them on a wire rack. So I usually use 2 plates to hold up my wire rack up in the air for air circulation always, okay? And I put egg wash on the bagels at that point in time, and along with the topping at that point in time right before baking. Okay, so we have 47 more minutes. So I'm going to go about other chores, and I will see you back here in 47.5 minutes. Bye-bye. Okay, so it rose 1 hour, and that's how it looks. And then you should punch this down. I know. Punch it down, and then let it rise 10 more minutes. Okay? So let's just make sure that that is correct. Let's see, 1 hour until dough doubles in size. Punch it down and let rest covered with a damp kitchen towel, but it doesn't have to be damp, for another 10 minutes. So I will see you back in 10 minutes. Okay, while we are still waiting for the 10-minute rest period, I went ahead and I pre-made my egg wash. So this is 1 egg and just a dash of water beaten up. The water really, I never thought that it would really make a difference, but it does. So be sure to add it. And I have my pastry brush. And behind me, I also preheated my oven to 425 degrees, okay? And I have my pot of water coming up to a slow boil, but you want it boiling. And I also lightly coated 2 baking sheets with PM cooking spray, because eventually the bagels are going to cook on this, or bake rather. So we just have a little over 3 minutes on the clock. And I also prepared my wire rack on my 2 plates right down here, because after boiling, this is where they're going to rest until the whole thing is done. Now, when you boil your bagels, you work in batches of 2 or 3 bagels at a time, so that to not cool down the boiling process very much, you know. And then you boil each batch for only 2 minutes. So that's when you have to have your trusty timer constantly going in this recipe. That's why I say I had to find a way that I could make this on a video without running behind, because although this recipe is really not daunting as so many bagel recipes are, it's time consuming and you're constantly racing against the clock. So anyway, I'm hoping that this is coming out, because it's obviously the first time that I've ever put it on a video. So anyway, we have a little over 2 minutes, so as soon as that timer goes off, we will go on to the next step. Okay, 10 minutes resting period has passed, and the dough really hasn't changed much in 10 minutes. That's what it looks like. Alright, so you're just going to turn it out, just like that. Okay? And as I said, this recipe makes 8 bagels. So basically, you cut it in 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay? So, here we go. 2. 4. 6. 8. And what it looks like is wedges of cheese. Okay, now how you form that is you make a C like this, and you just keep turning it like this until a sphere is formed, like this here. Okay? Perfect. Do that 8 times, okay? Okay, now, some of them you can see that they're all different shapes and sizes. You know, that's what happens when you make homemade things, so don't worry about it. Now, you're going to insert your finger right in the middle, and then you're going to just form it like this. Just keep doing this, okay? Until you have a hole in the middle, just like that. And rest it on your wire rack that you have right in front of you, okay? Again, so forth and so on. Molding, turning, okay? And don't worry, they look really small now, but trust me, it will definitely turn into a bagel. Okay, I have all 8 bagels formed like that, and believe it or not, you gotta cover it again, so just cover it on your wire rack and let it rest 10 minutes, okay? So we're gonna set 10 minutes on the timer again. And we're gonna press start. In the meantime, my water's boiling behind me, and my oven is already set at 425 degrees and has already been preheated. So anyway, I turned down the water a little bit because we have to go 10 minutes here for resting. I have a slotted spoon. This is the best I have, but you know that there's like the big round slotted spoons. You're gonna need one of these to scoop your bagel out after the 2-minute bath into the boiling water. And that's it for now. So I will see you back here in 10 minutes. Okay, so that's 10 minutes. And you can see that they haven't really changed much. So now I'm just going to work in batches of 3, 3, and 2. And I'm just going to drop them in to the boiling water right here, just like that. Okay, I'm going to set my kitchen timer for 2 minutes. I'm just going to let them boil right here. This makes them chewy and really good, like chewy goodness. One wedge of cheese dough, if you will, was really small, so this bagel's going to be small. And then one was really big, but you know, like I said, you can't get them perfect. This is not going to happen when you cook from scratch. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing. And from here, from the boiling bath, they'll go back on my wire rack until they're all done. And then I'll show you how to put toppings on. Okay, I have the second batch in the boiling water bath while the first batch dries right here on the wire rack. I can honestly tell you that this is by far the ugliest batch of bagels that I've ever made. This is probably the 4th time I'm making this recipe, and these are the ugliest. But I'm sure that they will taste just the same good. Usually they come out really beautiful, round bagels. And every time I post a picture of my bagels on Facebook, all my friends always say, "Oh my goodness, that looks just like store-bought." But not today. So the finished product that I'm going to show you is really going to just really be ugly, but I'm sure that it will taste good nevertheless. Okay, so the last step before baking, as you can see, they kind of fluffed up in that water bath, is basically topping them with the toppings. So I'm going to start with poppy seed first. And basically just brush generously the egg toppings right there. And shake, shake, shake. Okay, as much as you want. Like I said, this is poppy seed. Okay. So on and so forth. Okay, 4 poppy seed basically is what I'm making, and 4 sesame. Okay, so now I'll just show you what the sesame seed one looks like. And then I'll finish it off before baking. Okay, sesame seeds. Basically like that. Okay, and then I bake them for, it says 20 minutes until golden brown, but I'm going to start with 18 minutes and then go from there. So while we're waiting for them to come out of the oven, a word about the boiling process. Boil on one side and then and flip them over and boil them for equal time on the other side before taking them out to drain, okay? Okay, I took them out of the oven and they're really hot. Like I said, mine only took 18 minutes. And this is what they look like. And may I tell you again that this is the ugliest batch of bagels I've ever made. However, they're gonna taste great and yours will too. And it just takes a little practice. I haven't made this recipe in about 4 months, maybe even longer. So I am out of practice. And I've never made them on a video before either. But anyway, they really are good. They smell fabulous. I'm not going to taste one because they're really hot. I can't even wrap my hand around it to cut it. And besides, I've already had lunch. But trust me when I tell you they're really good and they're really fun. This is the poppy seed. Really fun. And have fun making bagels. I am PDX Apple Cart. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my videos, and I will be putting this whole thing down in the description part of the video so that you can get the proper measurements and everything like that. Measurements of the ingredients and the time and everything. So anyway, until next time, have fun.